Vivica, go!
When you put the videos on YouTube, can you number them?
They are numbered. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. What I do is I link the first one from the playlist that day, and then if you open it up in YouTube, on the side are there are ones that follow them sequentially. So like if you look at last Thursday, it says here's the video from class. If you click on that, that's Part 1. If you let that one run through, Part 2 will then start automatically behind it. But if you look at the player on YouTube, the one you're looking at is right here, and then there's the ones coming next are over here on the right-hand side. And in the description, they are Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Try to take care of you guys best I can. When you enter data, you want to push the stat button. Stat button's kind of dead center up here in the middle. This is if you're using a TI. Some of you might be using computers, Excel, in which you'll learn on the out-of-class exam how to do Excel. You might be using online applets, that's fine too. But this is using a TI in class. You're going to press the stat button. You're going to go to edit. Edit is your friend for statistics. You're going to press enter for edit. I've got a bunch of stuff in my lists left over from Lord only knows what. Anybody have anything in there as well? We got some stuff. If you have stuff in your lists, even if you don't practice, practice this right now. Put your blinker, your cursor up on top of a list, and then press the clear button. And that will get rid of whatever's in the list. You can make the noise if you need to. Or down. Either enter or down. Yes, either enter or down once you press clear. Is anybody missing L1, L2, L3? Are there any lists that aren't there? Sometimes that happens. Okay, we're happy. We're looking at 3 empty lists right now. Let's do one more thing while we're here. Press the Y equals button. Press the Y equals button. If you have any equations in there, get rid of them.
Where's that? Oh.
Yeah, press top left button. Top left button's Y equals. Get rid of any equations. We don't need them right now. We like equations, but not unless we have to use them. We don't have to use them right now. We just did. Didn't seem to like them too much. Cool? Anybody have any plots highlighted? Look kind of like this up there. If anybody's got plots highlighted, yes, no, maybe, no. Okay, don't worry about that. We'll deal with that later too. Okie doke. All right, back to stat edit. Here we are, L1, L2, L3. What I want you to do is to slap Ernie's data into L1 and slap Bert's data into L2. Now when I say slap, I mean just enter. So Ernie was 79, 80, 81, 82, 83. All I'm doing each time is I'm typing the number and then pressing enter, and it goes down to the next spot. Type the number, enter, type the number, enter, type the number. This is just like you would do it in Excel. If you were working in Excel, you'd be typing data in and having it enter and then enter and enter.
Does it have to be in order? Like
it does not. It does not. Thank you, Pat. It does not. It has a sort command. It automatically sorts for you. But that's just how I was remembering Bert, or I remember Ernie because he was all clustered up there in the middle. Bert had an 82, and he had 100.
68.
68, 61, 94. And then 94. Beautiful. Order is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. You don't worry about any order going in. The TI can deal with it any order you put it in. Good so far? Bert, or Ernie and Bert. The only trick is the TI, I mean, you can alter this if you want to, but the TI doesn't let you change the names of these. If you want to change the names of lists, you can do it on the far right. I don't recommend doing that. If you start getting into that, it's better to just use Excel. Cool so far? Here comes the magic. Press the stat button again. Go over to the calculate submenu, which is C-A-L-C. Calc. Just right arrow one time. See, you were in edit, which is where you get your data into your lists and finagle how it looks. But when you start wanting to do something with that, you want to boop, over to calculate. And there's a lot of stuff in this list. In 105, we use quite a bit of the stuff down here. We're not using any of that stuff in here. The only thing we're ever going to use in here is the very first thing called 1-bar stats. 1-bar stats. What do you think that stands for? One variable statistics. Yes, statistics, because that's what it's going to be giving you, is a bunch of statistics, which is fantastic. And one variable, because there really only is one variable with this data, isn't there? And what's the variable? The points on tests, his test scores. That's the only variable. That's it. There's 5 of them, but they're each measuring the same variable, how he did on an exam. Beautiful. Grab that. It kicks you out to the, when I say grab, press enter, sorry. Whenever I say grab, press enter. Slap means enter. Grab means press enter. Scooch means go left and right. Jump, you'll figure it all out. It's East Coast TI talk. One more stats, you're out to the home screen. Press enter. Boop. Get all kinds of good stuff. All kinds of good stuff, yeah? Now that you, exactly, Carly's like, what the hell? Why didn't I have this 5 days ago? Why didn't you have it 5 days ago? Because I'm a bastard? No. Why? I wanted you to think things through. I could give you this on the first day of class, yes? Then you're pushing buttons into a machine with absolutely no idea of what the hell's going on. Unless we start talking through why adding up and dividing by, or squaring and summing and dividing by makes sense, it's black magic. Now it's not black magic. It's now a tool, not a crutch. Yes. That's why I'm a bastard. Good. All right, let's go through it. Very first thing up here.
Average.
Beautiful. The average of 81. Love it. Fantastic. We already knew that. Pat, go.
Are we on list 1 or 2?
We are on list 1 by default. Thank you. Because Pat's going to say, wait a minute, time out. They both have the same average. So if I ran 1 bar stats, they're both going to say X bar equals 81. But since you didn't put any list in there, it automatically defaults to list 1. We're going to come back to that in like 5 minutes. Thank you for that, sir. But yeah, the idea is, since we had 2 data lists in, the TI, which one is the TI looking at? Well, there's one quick answer. You can find S down here that you just calculated, and look, it's 1.58. But that's kind of a smart aleck answer. The idea is, since you didn't tell it differently, it goes straight to L1.
Got it.
If you don't tell it differently. Carly, go.
What's the one beneath that?
Hold that thought if you don't mind. It's something that's not uber important right now. I want to mention it in passing, kind of like the sum of squares.
Okay.
But come back to it, I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Okay, so here we go. Average is 81. Anybody know what this is?
Big sigma.
Yeah.
All the numbers.
Big sigma x, which would be the sum of the data. So if you added up all of Ernie's test scores, you get 405. So if you added these guys up right here, you get 405. Beautiful, beautiful. Anybody tell what this is?
Sum squared.
It's the sum of the squares of the data, which is different than the sum of the square deviations. I don't even know why the TI still puts these on. Well, I know, because back in the 80s it was important. It's not important anymore. You can pretty much skip this for this class. You can just ignore that altogether. Here's the guy you really want right here. This is the one that saves you the time. That's the one that saves you the time. It tells you that that sample standard deviation is to 1.58. And as Cassidy reminded us earlier, that means on average, Ernie's 5 data points are 1.58 points away from the average of 81. So pretty much everything you need to understand is on this first screen. On average, the 5 data points you've got are 1.58 points away from the average of 81. Nick, go!
Why is big sigma x squared 32,815?
That's 32,815 squared points. What this is, Nick, this is not the same thing as what we did over there. It's not the sum of the squared deviations. It's the sum of the squares of the test scores. So if you took 81 and squared it and got whatever the hell that is, 6,400 or whatever it is, and added all of that up, that's what you would get.
Okay.
And now, you're never going to use that. This is meaningless to you guys. It's one of those things I wish I could go in and change, but I can't. Because it's hardwired
So
in.
it's not 405 squared.
No, that would be,
164,000.
well, that would be this.
Large number. Very
See the
large.
difference there? We're getting mathy, I apologize. The sum of x squared is different than, this is the square of the sum. This is the sum of the squares. I know, I'm sorry, damn it, I'm done. Everyone's like, okay, I got that. Cassie, you don't have to worry, don't sweat these. You don't need them, you need, there. And you don't really need this one either, I'm gonna come back, I haven't forgotten about you, Carly. Cassidy, go.
So if we're asked to find the standard deviation or something, just look at the SF?
Yes. Now that's the sample standard deviation. What Carly is mentioning down here, this is what's called the population standard deviation. Now the formula is a smidge bit different in the population than the sample. I don't want to worry about why right now, because it's not important. So basically, for right now, you can ignore that one too. So when I ask for the standard deviation, I'm implying a sample, and you're looking for that guy right there. The other reason I hate having this one in here is because what was the command you guys ran to get to this point? 1 bar stats. If that's the pop, if that, shit, you go away. If that was the population standard deviation, what would we call that? Would we call it a statistic? Or would we call it a, well, good! We'd have to have a census to do it, good. And what do we call that when we're measuring a population? Do you remember the P word? It's okay if you don't, it's been a couple weeks. Parameter. It's not a statistic, the class is called statistics because that's what you can actually get from samples. You can't get parameters. So I hate the fact that that's even included because it shouldn't be included. It's a parameter, not a statistic.
But is sigma,
That's little sigma.
but big sigma is standard deviation.
Big sigma is add a bunch of stuff up.
Alright.
Big sigma is not a statistic in and of itself, it's the operation of adding a bunch of things together. Notice how big sigma occurs in this, you just don't see it. If you think about it, check this out, Pat. Big sigma x over n is how they got this number 81.
Alright.
They took this number and divided it by that number to get that number.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
big sigma is not, it's not a parameter or a statistic, it's just an operator, like a plus sign. It's a bunch of plus signs, actually.
But what is that, omega then?
This guy?
Yeah.
Lowercase sigma. He's important, just not right now. He means nothing to us right now, Carly. He's little lowercase sigma in Greek. It's the lowercase. If you were like spelling my name, you use big sigma for Sean. But if you were spelling whoever else has an S in their name that's not in the beginning, you would use lowercase sigma for a little less. Don't worry about it right now. Just keep flushing it on the back of your mind. It's not crucial right now. The crucial thing is that's the one you're looking at right now. And the meaning again, what is the sample standard deviation again?
The average deviation of the average.
Good! It's the average deviation of the data points from their average. Very good. Very, very good. Now check this out. See that little arrow right there? Go down. Check it out. It gives you other stuff. Yes. It tells you your smallest data point, which is kind of dumb in this case because there are only 5 of them. You can like, duh, it's 9. But in general, when you have hundreds of data points, if you do, it tells you the smallest there. It tells you the largest. Who else does it tell you? That's nice, huh? That's nice. No more putting stuff in order. This is why, Pat, your question about do I have to put it in order? Hell no. It does it for you. It does it for you. What are these?
I can do this one.
Damn close. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Those are called quartiles. I'm going to come back to them. Because they deviate, no pun intended, pretty far from what we're talking about right now. They're a different way. We're going to talk about kids and pediatrician growth charts to talk about why we care about those things. So you can ignore those for right now. I just wanted to show you this guy because it gives it to you for free, which is sweet. Now, what doesn't it give you that we talked about last week? It doesn't give you a mode. It does not give you a mode. That's okay. That's okay. Modes should be fairly obvious as far as data sets go. They don't have to give them to you. If you, for some reason, need to use the TI to find it, I can help you find it with your TI, but it's not crucial to do anything fancy. Now, let's find BERTs. Guesses as to what BERTs are, what BERT's standard deviation is. We know that Ernie's is 6.58?
No, 16.
16. That's a pretty precise guess. That's a fairly precise guess. I was going for more like intuition, but that's good. I vote for 16.58. Now, hell of a grab. How do we get it from here? Well, you start it the exact same way by pressing stat calc and one of our stats. But don't just press enter, because if you press enter, it'll give you Ernie's stuff again. You have to put an L2 next to that. And the way you do that is the second function button, which is this guy up here. Second function. Mine's blue, yours might be yellow, depends on what model you have. And then press the number 2, and you'll see a little L2 pop up. All the lists have an appearance above the number keys. And when you press this, you say to yourself, what the hell, it looks just like Ernie's. Well, to a point it does, right? To a point it looks like Ernie's, because they had the same average. They had the same sum of points, and they had the same number of points. So 405 over 5 is 81. That was the whole point of this discussion was, what if that happens? Is there a way to measure how they're different? And yes, there is. If you ignore the stuff you don't have to look at right now, that's how you talk about how they're different. On average, BERT's test scores are about 16.58 points away from the average of 81. Nice, way to finish that for me. That's perfect. So when we talk about these standard deviations, it's a measure of average dispersion. What are you dispersing from? From the average. You're measuring dispersion, but you have to measure dispersion from something. Ask me questions, any questions you have right now. That was a very computational day. I apologize for that. Needed to be done.
keeps going back to the first list. How do you get to the second list?
You have to put L2 after it, Pat, good question. So when you grab that one bar stats, oops. When you grab one bar stats like that, put second 2 before pressing, and it has to see L2 at the end of it like that, then press enter. Is that not working? You have to do it that way, otherwise it gets pissed. You have to talk its language. Yes, you have to speak TIEs. We'll learn Excel E's as well as we go through. Pat, is it working?
Yeah.
Behaving itself now? Thank you, thank you. Decent? Now, the whole point of this, and I know it's kind of like growing pains, you're like, oh God, week 1 and 2 were so much better than this. It's because it's something brand new, most likely for you. Variation is not the most intuitive thing, although I saw some eyes light up today, I'm like, okay, this is good, it's making sense, If it's not making sense right now, that's okay. I don't expect it to be crystal clear walking out of here today. I don't expect that. I expect you to understand what we did as far as we took differences, squared them, summed them, and divided. We averaged differences, basically. The idea of what these numbers mean will become more and more clear the more and more data sets we analyze, starting on Thursday. Huh? All right, and then I'll give you more examples as to why you should care about this kind of thing. Marty, go!
So you said the quiz was due this Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it says it's due next Thursday?
Well, there's quizzes due every Thursday. That particular one you're holding is the Old Faithful one, yeah?
Yeah.
That one's due this Thursday. I'm going to have more quizzes due next Thursday. Every Thursday you'll have at least one quiz, if not 2 or 3.